Hello everybody, my name is Nicola and welcome back to my channel. This is the Feel Good Cottage, all about budgeting, money saving, investing and lots of things to help you with your financial journey. So today's video is all about how to start meal planning to save money. Don't forget to like and subscribe and let's get started. So as a family of four, we spend approximately £50 a week on food. That is mainly down to meal planning and having zero waste. So at the end of the week our fridge is pretty much empty and our freezer is kind of as always. However, planning and making sure that we don't waste any food means that our food bill overall is fairly consistently low. Now, the main thing for this is that I don't like to throw anything out. I don't like to buy food that then gets thrown in the bin because you're just wasting money that way. But also it makes sure that we're not kind of going overboard in terms of buying lots of extras, you know, getting into the trap of being in a supermarket and seeing all the bargains, because most of the time that isn't stuff we'd buy normally, and by falling into that trap their marketing is very much working. So these are all ideas to help you to start meal planning so that you can reduce your food spend and reduce your waste at the same time. So I've been meal planning for quite a long time. It's fairly straightforward once you get in the hang of it. It can take a bit of practice to begin with, but there are certain methods that I use so that we are consistently kind of doing the same thing week in, week out. So I have a meal planner. This is the thing I use. I've been kind of testing this out for the past kind of couple of months. I normally write things down, but I've kind of actually made it into something that will work properly. So the first thing to do is to write your weekly menu plan, meal plan, menu plan, whatever you want to call it. So in our household, breakfasts are normally the same. Even on a weekend, they pretty much are the same. It's either cereal and fruit or toast, depending on mainly what the boys fancy or not. Lunches, depending if you're out or not, these can be different for different people. It depends if you're at work or at home. And then the main one to kind of focus on, I suppose, is then tea time, what you're having as your evening meal together as a family. Or, you know, you're making something that people eat at different times. It depends what your setup is. Planning this out as a starting point for then going food shopping is the way that you make sure that you're not going to waste anything, because you're not buying things that you don't need. And also you're buying things that you know that you will use during the week, so you don't get to like Thursday and think, oh, I don't know what I'm going to make today because I don't know what there's left. With this ensures that every week you have your 7 main meals already planned, and these I suppose can be interchangeable. Now, one of the things that people say, oh, but I don't know what I'm going to want to eat on Wednesday. Obviously you can swap the days around. The point behind this is that you are having to plan the meals you're going to eat, and you can change what the day is. But the idea is that you're buying the things you need to buy and not just guessing. Because sometimes when I go to the supermarket and there's someone there and they've just got what appears to be really random stuff in their trolley, and it's like full to the brim of things, and sometimes wonder, like, I wonder how many people you're feeding, but also, do you know what's in that shopping trolley that's going to make you the meals during the week? Because this also takes the pressure off. I don't need to get home on like after work and then wonder what on earth I'm going to make for tea, because I've got options already. I've worked that out already. It takes the pressure off that decision when you're probably tired, you're already hungry, and that's when the willpower might start to slip. So it does take the pressure off in terms of making decisions, because you've already done it already. You've done the hard work probably at a weekend. Most people seem to go food shopping at a weekend, we certainly do. And then kind of during the week when things are slightly more busy, it might seem more pressured. The hard work in that sense is done for you. Now, and once I've done that for the week, I then put it into, and this is a new thing for me, not done this for very long, but it was because, and I'm sure lots of people are the same, I hope lots of people are the same, we were eating the same things in every week. We were eating kind of the same meal. So what I now do is I've now got our monthly meal plan, and I then, once I've done the weekly one, which is the kind of the one that takes the time, I then just put in the main meal that we're having into the monthly one as well. So then when this is getting more full, you can see, oh right, well we've had pizza twice this month already, maybe we should have something else. Or we've not had fish in a while, so maybe we should have a fish meal during the week. You know, it's making sure that you're kind of varying a bit. Varying your diet is always a good thing. So after you've done the weekly meal plan, then transfer just the main meals onto the monthly one. It is interesting to look over during the month. Like I said, I didn't realise quite how much we were just repeating the same handful of meals week in, week out. And then, I don't know about you, but then I get bored of eating the same things and then wonder why. And it's because we've eaten the same things for ages and not really thought about it, because it's easy to do the things that you know, but for me it's easy to make meals that I know my boys will probably eat, as opposed to trying something new that they might not eat and then I have to find something else for them anyway. It's a bit like, oh well, I'll just make the same old because I know it works for our family. However, this monthly meal plan is quite eye-opening in that sense. I forgot to say, this meal planner is available on my site. I will leave a link below in the description box if you want to have a look at that. It is really useful. So once you've done your weekly meal plan and then transferred it over, you then need to write a shopping list. So this shopping list here it kind of splits it into different kind of sections of the supermarket. So fruit and veg, cupboard things, so like tinned stuff, meat and fish, dairy, bakery, frozen, what does that say, or snacks, and then miscellaneous, so like household things I suppose would go there. The reason why I like to separate stuff out and write it down is because then I kind of know which area the supermarket is and which bit. So for us, I shop at Morrison's. If you follow my videos you'll know that the fruit and veg aisle is the first thing you get to in Morrison's. Okay, it's then the bakery at the back of that aisle. So I kind of know, walking around, which section of the shopping list I will need to use. And for me that helps me be more organised. But the way you use this is once you've done your weekly meal plan, this one, you then need to write down what you need to buy specifically for the meals you've planned for the week. So say you've put, I don't know, spaghetti bolognese on Monday. So you would need to get mince, you need to get an onion, you need to get tomatoes, and you would write that on the list in the different sections so that when you get to Monday and you need to make it, you've got all the ingredients that you need to hand to make that meal. And you might need to buy multiples of things, but that's okay, just put times and then however many of the item that you want on the list. Writing a shopping list and meal planning out our meals for the week, these things combined have made it so our waste, so the things we were chucking out because they'd gone off, practically zero. Yeah, there's the odd carrot that kind of languishes in the like the veg drawer in the fridge that might get, but on the whole we don't throw anything out, because by the end of the week, because we've planned our shopping list and our meal plan and bought the things we need, by the end of the week we've used it all. I'll talk about a stockpile in a bit, that's just occurred to me. But the shopping list is almost important. Sometimes, again in the supermarket, I see people walk around and they've not got a list, but they've got a trolley full of stuff. And again, I'm like, how do you know what you need to buy? Unless you've got like a photographic memory and you can just remember, which would be amazing. I don't know how you know what you're buying. I love a list. I have to-do lists all the time, a shopping list, list for presents that we bought people so I remember, so I don't get the same thing twice. It's just helping you so that the stress when you're food shopping, making those decisions, again, is all done for you because you've written your list before you go. And because you've written a shopping list, you are less likely to succumb to those end of the aisle deals that we all get trapped by, because I know I do. Always tends to be like junk food as well, because you've got your shopping list and you know that you don't really need it. Says the person who needs to get better at that. But the shopping list is there to help you minimise being swayed by things you don't need, including, because this is a proper danger zone for me in the supermarket, the home section. I'm not allowed to buy any more mugs because I have too many. That's the danger zone, but with my list I feel much more in control of what I'm going to buy because I've made the decision before I got there. The next thing in the menu plan, which is helpful, I am actually going to laminate these. I decided that this morning, and have them on our fridge. These are your inventories, if you like, so the things you already have. So fridge and freezer. The freezer one is important for me because I'm someone who kind of shove things in the freezer and does forget about some things, and then you come back to them or you suddenly spy them behind something else and you think, oh, especially if it's meat, probably should use that. This helps to rotate what you've got already so that you don't find like a year later, I don't know, some chicken or something that should have been eaten by now, even in the freezer. And the fridge and freezer inventories again is useful because you can see what you're going to run out of. So for us, for example, last week I didn't put like butter on the list, like spread, and we ran out halfway through the week, and if I'd thought about it, I should have written it on here first. And this again is useful if you're trying to use things up. Knowing what you already have in your freezer might mean that you don't need to buy quite so many meals this week because you've got things already in the freezer that need using up. So there's 2 points to why that's really useful. So there's the fridge and the freezer, and there's another one in here. So there's the cupboards and anything else. So cupboards, things like tins, things like you might have bought that really random ingredient that you needed for one recipe that you've made once and not made again. Put it on here and it will remind you to use it. It will remind you to use it up. It will remind you you've got it so that you don't come home and suddenly realise you didn't need to buy 2 tins of chickpeas because you already got them in the cupboard. That kind of thing is really useful. Anything else? So things like I put on here if we need kitchen roll or if we need like cleaning spray or like oven cleaner, things like that, that you might not buy in like every week because you wouldn't. But they're the kind of things that you forget that you need unless you've written them down somewhere. Or I do anyway. Kitchen roll, for example. It's a nightmare if you run out of, but it's something that I do frequently forget to write on the shopping list and is annoying. But now I've got in the habit of using this, the inventory, it does help in terms of remembering stuff. And like I said, I think I'm going to actually laminate these and put them on the fridge because then I can see them all the time. And I can write on them or rub things out once you've used them, and it's much more easy to see what we're running out of. And then the final thing, and this is someone who goes on like Pinterest and things like that, and quite a lot of the time gets, if I am going to try something new, which isn't very often, I try and find things online, recipes I like. The final thing in the meal planner that I have been using is like a recipe card. So if it's something that I really like, I tend to write where I've got it from, so the website, if it's on a website, and then just fill this out. So the recipe, how many it says, preparation time, cooking time, the ingredients, and then the method. And then that stays in my folder, so I'm kind of collecting a repertoire of things that I can make that I know that work, that we like, but I don't have to go searching for because they're all in one place. I'm someone who loves buying cookbooks. I have so many of them on the shelf, but I actually rarely use them. And I think the plan going forward is if I do like certain recipes in here, I either write them out on the recipe card and keep them, or I make a little note of where it is in what book and what page, and do kind of a brief on here and keep that the same. But using recipe cards of things, and like I'm in loads of different Facebook groups for kind of money saving things, and lots of people just post like, oh, I've made this today, this is how you make it. This then comes into play because that's a post on Facebook, it gets kind of, it disappears into the rest of Facebook, but if you've written it down and saved it, then you've got it to hand to make. I've used that quite a few times. Somebody's posted something like a recipe with a picture just in one of these groups, and I've quickly written it down because it looks really good, and most of the time, because people have made them already, they're recipes that work, they're fairly straightforward, and that's come into play and being really useful. So meal planning in terms of saving money, it's all about thinking about what you need, what you have already, and then kind of balancing that. And I'm going to move on to a stockpile because I have a couple of really popular posts on my site that I'll link below. It's how to start a stockpile and how to organise it. And those two combined with this really do make it easy to keep your food spend under control. So a stockpile. A stockpile can be as big as you want it to be or as small as you want it to be. It does depend on your household setup, how many people are in your household, how much room you have to store stuff, and how much you want to build that up. So using ours as an example, I regularly buy pasta, spaghetti, rice, tinned tomatoes, baked beans, chickpeas, like tin chickpeas, and frozen veg. Using an example of the things that I know we buy regularly because it's things that we use all the time. Building up a stockpile means that you don't need to buy these things as regularly because you've got them in, if that makes sense. So talking about pasta, I try and buy the biggest bag we can store. Now actually that isn't very big for us, but it does depend on your setup how much you can store. The bigger bags tend to be cheaper overall because the price per kilogram is less, because you're buying it once rather than the smaller packets. And I buy that because I know that we'll use that, and things like dried goods don't really go off. I mean, they would eventually, I'm sure, but the rate we get through them, it wouldn't. The same with tinned things, so chopped tomatoes are another really good example of things that we use all the time. So in spag bowls, in chilies, even just on toast. I really like chopped tomatoes on toast. You know, the tinned tomatoes. Again, there's a variety of different kind of price ranges. You can get the really basic ones or you can get the more expensive ones. But again, because that's something that we use quite often, I pretty much always add a tin of those to the shopping, even if I haven't put it on my list, because I know we'll use it at some point. And if I find that I've suddenly got like 10 tins of chopped tomatoes, then I'll stop and use them up and rotate that so that eventually they've gone back down again and at a manageable level. But buying things for a stockpile only works if you buy what you know you're going to use. So for example, there's no point in me buying like ravioli, for example, because none of us like it, none of us eat it. And that would be a pointless purchase and a waste, because eventually they either get chucked out or just sit in the back of the cupboard where nobody ever touches it. So a stockpile only works if you buy things that you know you need and will use. And it can also go, I know this is about meal planning, but it can also go for household things, so things like toothpaste, toilet rolls, kitchen rolls, cleaning products, you know, all the kind of things that you know that you will use. Again, don't go overboard though, because like cleaning products last quite a long time, so you don't need to buy 10 bottles of something unless you know that you're going to use it and you have room to store it. You do need to think about the practicalities of storing lots of things. If you're going to buy 100 toilet rolls because they're on offer or whatever, then great, but do you have the space for that? It's about a balance of keeping things in and organising it. Again, you've got to think practically, is all this going to fit in the cupboards or wherever you keep things, and is it really necessary at this time? It might be, that's great. And if you can, like I say, normally when you buy things in bigger packets, it is cheaper overall, and then you won't need to use toilet rolls. If you buy 100 toilet rolls 1 week, you then presumably won't need to buy them for a while, so that it all kind of averages out and makes it less overall. But just make sure that you're buying things that you do need, not things that kind of might or might not be used in your house. Another thing that we do kind of links in, I suppose, because it's food. I tend to buy quite a lot of boxes of cat food at the same time, because that just sits in the cupboard. I know we'll use it, and it's not a deal, so they're just the same price no matter when you buy them. But it's sometimes easy just to buy kind of 4 boxes, and you know that's done then for however long. So it is up to you. But remember, if you're doing things for a stockpile, this is where this comes into play, the inventory pages. So if you bought, say, 4 tins of tomatoes, you write 4 tins of tomatoes on here, and then when you're doing your meal plan, you then look at what you've got in your inventory and think, right, I'm making spag bowl, I need a tin of tinned tomatoes, I already have those in my stockpile, I don't need to write that on the list this week. That's one less thing that you need to buy. Maybe you're going to make, I don't know, hummus, because I mentioned chickpeas before. You write that down, then you look and think, oh, I've got 2 tins of chickpeas already, don't need to buy that. Something else that doesn't have to be added onto your list. Freezer things, if you use frozen stuff a lot, we do, especially frozen veg I tend to buy. It lasts in the freezer, it's slightly easier to get hold of most of the time. write that on here, it will be on the other page. Frozen stuff is another great example of having stuff in that you then don't need to buy. So quite often I buy frozen broccoli. We eat loads of that. It's one of the only green vegetables I can get my boys to eat, and I tend to pick that up every week regardless of whether it's on my meal plan, because I know we'll use it. If you're a family that loves fish finger sandwiches for lunch one day, have that in. It's all about being flexible and having things that you know your family or your household or however your setup is works. Another really good one is porridge oats. You can use them to make flapjacks. Obviously porridge, there's baked oats, there's overnight oats. If you like that kind of thing, buy the biggest pack you can store. Because it's bigger, it is cheaper to do so. But these combined meal planning, so you make a weekly meal plan of things that you like to eat. You then transfer that to your monthly meal plan so you can see what you're doing overall. Then you write a shopping list using the inventory that you've worked out, looking in the cupboards. Is there something that you need to use up? Maybe there's half a packet of something that could do with being eaten. Incorporate that into your meal plan if you can. You then write a shopping list, check it, see if there's anything that you've kind of duplicated so you don't need to buy and cross it off. Use your inventory pages. That's to show or remind you just what you have in already. I have quite often bought things in a weekly shop, got home, started to put things away and realised that, oh, I've already got that, didn't need to buy that this week, should have known that, should have looked before I went. All those kind of things there will help you. And then use the recipe cards for any new recipes that you might want to try or that you tried and really liked, so that you want to have that in kind of a little pack of recipes that you know your family will like. All these things together should mean that you are not wasting food because you've planned before you've gone. You've got a shopping list so you know what you are buying, and you should make everything up so that there's nothing left at the end. So you've meal planned, you've written your shopping list. By the end of the week there should not be a lot left if you've done it. If you've done it like we've done and we literally buy what we need, by the end of the week there's probably butter and milk in our fridge and that is it, because we've used everything else up. Now obviously I'm a bit more extreme. Maybe you're not comfortable letting your food stores go down that much. It's up to you how you do your meal plan in terms of if you want it to be literally zero by the end of the week, so you have to go food shopping, that is totally up to you. But the combination of meal planning, writing a shopping list, looking at what you've got before you go, and not throwing anything out because you're using it up already, those things in combination should help you to save lots of money. Now I will leave links below to the meal planner, which I've been using and I love and I recommend using it. I've also got a course called Reduce Your Food Spend course. It's currently on offer at 80% off at the moment. I'll leave a link below to that plus the code, and also those 2 blog posts about starting a stockpile and organising a stockpile. I'll leave a link below to all of those things so that you can get started. It just takes a bit of time to get used to, but all these things, all these processes are there to help you to make sure that you're saving money and you're not wasting your hard-earned cash on something that ends up being thrown out. So that's it. I hope you're staying safe at home. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you again very soon.